Money is a servant, but only to those who learn its rules. You can't master wealth until you stop behaving like its employee. You were never meant to work for money your whole life. Money was meant to work for you. The problem is, most people spend their lives chasing a paycheck instead of building a system. It's time to stop earning just to survive and start training your money to serve your freedom. Most people spend their lives trading hours for dollars, and they call that a living. But the tragedy is, they never stop to ask, what happens when my hours run out? You see, working for money is a beginning. It teaches you discipline, responsibility, effort. But it's only the kindergarten of wealth. Real financial freedom begins the moment you turn the tables and make money start working for you. Now, here's the secret. Money is a servant, not a master. Yet most people hand it the leash. They chase it, worry about it, lose sleep over it, and then wonder why it never stays. But those who understand the game, they train their money like soldiers. Every dollar gets a job. Every cent goes to work. And here's what separates the rich from the rest. The poor work for money. The rich build systems. The poor earn to spend. The rich earn to invest. The poor trade time. The rich trade strategy. So tonight, I want to teach you how to stop running on the hamster wheel of effort and start building a life where your money runs for you day and night, weekends and holidays, even while you sleep. Because the goal is not to work harder, it's to work smarter, to create wealth so quietly that one day you wake up realizing you no longer have to work for money because money is already working for you. When I first began to understand money, I realized most people have it backward. They think money is for buying things. Cars, clothes, gadgets, the next upgrade to impress the neighbor. But the true purpose of money is not possession. The true purpose of money is freedom. It's not about owning more, it's about needing less. It's not about looking rich, it's about being free. Freedom to choose where you spend your time, who you spend it with, and what kind of life you build when you no longer have to trade every waking hour for a paycheck. That, my friends, is real wealth. Now, here's what separates the majority from the wealthy few. Most people work for money, while the wealthy make money work for them. The difference isn't education or even intelligence, it's perspective. The poor think, if I can just make more, I'll be fine. The wealthy think, if I can make my money work while I rest, I'll be free. That's the turning point. The day you stop seeing money as something to spend and start seeing it as something to direct is the day your financial story changes forever. When I was young, I worked long hours, sometimes too long. I thought hard work alone was the secret. But one day, I met a mentor who asked me, "How long can you work in a day?" I said, "Maybe 12 hours. He smiled and said, "Then your income is limited to your effort. You're still trading time for money." That struck me because if I stopped working, the money stopped coming. The wealthy, he said, build systems, investments, and businesses that keep earning even when they're asleep. And that was my wake-up call, to start working, not just for income, but for independence. To get there, you must first define what freedom means to you. For some, it's the ability to travel. For others, it's being home for dinner every night. For me, it was choice. The choice to work because I want to, not because I have to. Once you define it, you can direct your money toward it. That means cutting the emotional spending that gives you momentary pleasure but no lasting peace. It means resisting the urge to impress and instead investing to express your vision for your life. You have to learn to trade your time for leverage, not luxury, because luxury fades, but leverage compounds. When you buy a liability, it takes from you every month. When you buy an asset, it gives to you every month. The trick is to fill your life with givers, not takers. Assets, not obligations. Whether it's stocks, real estate, or a small online business, start planting seeds that grow without your daily watering. Here's the truth. Every dollar you earn has a job. You can let it go out and never come back. Or you can make it your employee, send it out to work for you and bring back friends. The goal isn't to gather possessions, but to build engines. Because the day your money earns while you rest, you'll realize you've stopped working for money and money has started working for you. And that, my friends, is the first taste of real freedom. When I was a young man, I learned one of the most life-changing lessons about money, and it was this: labor is temporary, but capital can last a lifetime. Most people spend their whole lives working for money, but never realize that money can and should eventually start working for them. There's nothing wrong with labor. In fact, labor is noble. Work gives you pride, discipline, and skill. But the secret is to use the fruits of your labor to create something that keeps paying you long after you stop working. The goal is not to work harder forever. The goal is to make your hard work count forever. Every dollar you earn from your labor should have a mission. Don't let it vanish into short-term comforts. Let it become a soldier in your financial army sent out to capture more territory on your behalf. The tragedy is, most people earn and spend, and the cycle repeats endlessly. Their income disappears into dinners, gadgets, or the next shiny thing that brings only momentary pleasure. But the wealthy, they turn income into assets, effort into equity. They understand that money sitting idle is potential wasted. They transform wages into ownership, because ownership is what builds freedom. I remember when I first started earning decent money, it was tempting to upgrade everything: the car, the house, the wardrobe. But a mentor told me, don't buy more comfort before you buy more capital. He said, if you use your income to buy luxuries, the luxuries will soon own you. But if you use it to buy assets, one day you'll own time. That hit me deep. So instead of spending every increase in income, I began saving and investing a portion of it. Slowly at first, 10%, then 20%. It wasn't easy, but it was transformational. I was turning my labor into capital, planting financial seeds that would keep growing even when I wasn't working the field. You see, every dollar that you invest has the potential to free you from the need to earn another one through sweat alone. Whether it's in real estate, stocks, or a business of your own, the moment your money starts earning on its own, you've begun to shift from employee to owner, from worker to wealth builder. It doesn't matter how small the start. What matters is the direction. Because a few dollars properly invested today can become thousands that work tirelessly for you tomorrow. And this is where most people miss their chance. They eat the seed instead of planting it. They trade future harvest for present pleasure. But if you're wise enough to hold back, to reinvest instead of indulge, to let your profits build more profits, you'll enter a league most never reach. The rich aren't rich because they earn more. They're rich because they keep more and grow what they keep. So take a portion of every paycheck and assign it a purpose, not for spending, but for investing. Start a small side venture, something that can grow while you sleep. It could be digital, creative, or service-based. Anything that has leverage. And when it begins to yield fruit, don't spend it all. Plant it again. Reinvest until your capital earns enough to cover your living. That's the moment you step into freedom. Labor is your beginning, not your destiny. The real game is to turn effort into ownership, wages into wealth, and hours into assets. Work hard once, but let your money work forever. Because when your labor becomes capital, you no longer live by the clock. You live by your creation. And that's when your work truly becomes wealth. When I first started working, I believed what most people are taught, that the key to success was earning more income. And so I worked harder, longer hours, trying to climb the income ladder. But over time, I realized something powerful. Income will feed you, but it will never free you. Because the moment you stop working, the income stops too. It's like running on a treadmill. No matter how fast you move, the scenery never changes. True wealth isn't measured by how much you earn. It's measured by what you own. Ownership is the bridge from effort to freedom. Let me tell you, income is important. It keeps the lights on. But assets are what keep the lights on when you're gone. The wealthy understand this distinction very clearly. They don't just work for a paycheck. They work to acquire things that generate paychecks on their own. They own property that pays rent, businesses that earn profit, stocks that pay dividends, and systems that multiply value. They've learned to turn today's effort into tomorrow's independence. I remember years ago when I was living check to check, and someone asked me, "What would happen if you stopped working for 6 months?" I didn't like my answer, because the truth was, everything would stop. My bills wouldn't stop, my rent wouldn't stop, my expenses wouldn't stop, but my income would. That was a wake-up call. I realized I was trapped in a system where I owned nothing that worked for me. I was just renting my time. That's when I made a commitment. I would start building assets, not just income. The first asset I ever owned wasn't real estate or a company. It was a small idea turned into a small product. It didn't make much at first, but it worked without me. That was the magic moment. The first time I earned money I didn't have to trade hours for. I understood the real power of ownership. It changes how you think, how you plan, and how you live. Because once you start to own something that grows, you start to grow too. So, the question isn't how can I earn more? The real question is, what can I own that will keep earning even when I rest? It might be rental property, digital products, an investment portfolio, or a small side business. Whatever it is, make ownership your true profession. Study it, nurture it, build it. Treat your assets like your employees. They should be working for you day and night. If you're new to this, start small. Buy one share of a company you believe in. Start a side hustle that creates recurring income. Purchase something that appreciates instead of depreciates. And as that first asset grows, reinvest the profits into another. Soon, your assets will begin to feed one another, creating a chain reaction of wealth that no job can replicate. You see, income is temporary. Assets are legacy. The day your assets produce more than your labor, that's the day you experience real freedom. So while the world chases higher paychecks, you chase ownership. Because the rich don't just earn more, they own more. Income is a step, ownership is the summit. Build assets, not just income, and one day you'll realize that you no longer have to work for money because your money has learned to work for you. One of the biggest shifts in my life happened when I stopped thinking like a spender and started thinking like an investor. You see, the spender's goal is comfort. The investor's goal is control. The spender wants to feel good now, but the investor wants to build something that lasts. And most people never cross that line. They spend to impress rather than invest to progress. That's why so many work their whole lives and never feel financially free, because every time they earn, they consume. But the wealthy, they delay the comfort because they understand that today's seed is tomorrow's forest. When I was young and broke, I remember spending my small paychecks on little luxuries, dinners, gadgets, things that made me feel successful for a moment. But that moment always faded, and I was left with nothing but bills. Then one day, a mentor said something that changed everything. Every dollar has a job. It will either work for you or against you. That hit me hard. I began to realize that every time I bought something that didn't grow in value, I was hiring my dollars to make someone else rich. The investor's mindset isn't about being stingy, it's about being strategic. The investor asks, how can I use this dollar to bring me another one? While the spender says, how can I use this dollar to feel better right now? One mindset creates freedom, the other creates dependence. And freedom requires patience. That's the hard part. The spender wants the feeling of reward instantly, but the investor learns to enjoy the process of waiting, watching, and letting money compound quietly in the background. Now, I'm not saying you should never enjoy life. I believe in living well. But I also believe in earning the right to live well by letting your assets pay for your pleasures. Don't buy the luxury car because you want to look successful. Build investments that produce enough passive income to pay for that car without touching your main source of income. That's what I call earned enjoyment. When your investments fund your lifestyle, that's not luxury, that's liberation. Start training yourself to pause before every purchase. Ask, will this make me richer or poorer? You'll be amazed how quickly that question changes your habits. And don't underestimate the power of automation. The spender waits for what's left to save. The investor saves first, automatically, before a single dollar is spent. That small shift is how wealth quietly builds, not through sudden luck, but through consistent discipline. Remember, wealth doesn't grow in days, it grows in decades. The spender lives for weekends, the investor lives for years. The spender thinks, I deserve this now. The investor thinks, I'll deserve more later if I build it right. And that's the beauty of compounding. When you wait, your money starts working harder than you ever could. So begin training your mind for long-term thinking. Every time you feel the urge to buy something just to feel good, redirect that emotion into investment. Let your future self be grateful for your current discipline, because the truth is, every dollar you spend disappears, but every dollar you invest multiplies. And here's the secret few ever learn. Investing isn't just about money, it's about mindset. It's about transforming how you see time, value, and reward. Once you think like an investor, even your small daily decisions will begin to build your future. The spender chases pleasure, the investor builds power. Choose power, because when your money starts working for you, you'll have all the pleasure you want on your own terms. I've often said that success is built on discipline, but wealth, real, lasting wealth, is built on time, and nowhere does time work its magic more beautifully than in compounding. You see, money has a quiet genius to it. If you give it enough time and care, it begins to grow all by itself. Albert Einstein called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world, and he was right, not because it's complicated, but because it's unbelievably powerful when combined with patience and consistency. The problem is, most people never experience that power. They want results now, not 10 or 20 years from now. They underestimate what can happen when small amounts of money are given enough time to multiply. I used to think that way too. Early in my career, I would save a little, then get impatient and spend it, convincing myself that I'd start again later. But later never comes unless you start now. The truth hit me when a mentor told me, it's not the amount that matters, it's the habit. That was the turning point. When you start small, something remarkable happens. You teach yourself the rhythm of growth. $100 a month might not sound like much, but it's the seed that teaches your money how to work. You learn discipline, consistency, and faith in the process. That 100 becomes 200, 2 becomes 5, and before long, you're no longer the one working hardest in the relationship. Your money is. It begins to earn, even while you sleep. The real magic of compounding is not in numbers, it's in time. Imagine planting a tree. For years, it seems small and unimpressive. But while you're busy living your life, its roots grow deep. Then one day, it starts producing fruit every season, effortlessly. That's what happens when you let your investments compound. But most people chop their tree down too early because they can't see the growth underground. They withdraw, spend, or lose patience right before the exponential curve begins. And that's the tragedy, because compounding rewards those who wait the longest, not those who start the biggest. So start now, no matter how little you have. Don't wait for a perfect time. That time never arrives. $100 invested today will outperform 1,000 invested 10 years later. The secret is uninterrupted growth. Reinvest your dividends, your profits, your interest. Don't touch them. Let your money breathe and multiply. The longer it stays invested, the faster it grows, not in a straight line, but like an accelerating curve. Every investor eventually learns that the first few years feel slow, painfully slow. But after that, something extraordinary happens. Your returns begin to earn their own returns. You've created a financial machine that doesn't depend on your labor anymore. And that's freedom. When your capital becomes your employee, working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But here's the key. Compounding doesn't just apply to money. It applies to knowledge, health, and habits too. Every book you read, every new skill you learn, compounds just like your investments. Time is your greatest ally if you use it wisely. The poor waste time and chase money. The rich invest time and let money chase them. So start now, start small, but start strong. Let your money grow quietly in the background while you focus on becoming the kind of person who deserves it. One day, you'll look back and realize that the small decisions you made consistently, not the big leaps, built your wealth. Remember, compounding rewards discipline, not haste. Time is the best investor. All it asks is that you begin and never interrupt its work. I've met countless people who tell me they want to be rich. They talk about big investments, new opportunities, even starting a business. But when I ask them one simple question, how much money flows in and out of your life every month? Most can't answer. They know their salary, but they don't know their flow. And that's where wealth silently leaks away. You see, it's not the size of your income that determines your wealth. It's how you manage what passes through your hands. You don't go broke because you earn too little. You go broke because your flow is out of control. In my early days, I worked hard and made decent money. But somehow, I was always running short. I kept telling myself that when I earned more, I'd finally get ahead. But I later discovered more income only magnifies bad habits. If you can't control $1,000, 10,000 will just make the hole deeper. The truth hit me when my mentor said, "Jim, it's not what you earn that makes you rich. It's what you keep and what you do with what you keep." That one line reshaped my financial life. Money is like water. If you don't build channels for it, it'll leak, it'll evaporate, and one day you'll look around wondering where it all went. So, I began treating every dollar with purpose. Every inflow had to serve a mission. Part for living, part for saving, part for investing, and part for giving. I learned that when you direct money with clarity, it starts to obey. But if you let it move freely, it'll find its way to the nearest distraction, a new gadget, an unnecessary subscription, or another impulsive expense disguised as a reward. You have to take control of your flow. Sit down once a week, not once a year, and look at your finances, not with fear, but with responsibility. Track your inflows and outflows. Ask yourself, did this purchase bring me closer to freedom or further away? Awareness is the first step to mastery. Most people are unconscious with money. They spend emotionally, then justify logically. But the wealthy operate differently. They make decisions with vision, not impulse. Once you start managing your cash flow, something powerful happens. You start to create surplus. And that surplus is the seed of wealth. Most people think they'll invest when there's extra money. But that day never comes because untracked money disappears. When you master your flow, you create that extra money intentionally and you send it to work. That's how you turn cash flow into capital flow. Eliminate the leaks, those small expenses that silently eat your wealth. The coffee you don't need, the streaming service you forgot, the lifestyle upgrade you didn't earn yet. Small leaks sink big ships. Plug them now, and you'll be amazed how much you reclaim. Then take that reclaimed money and put it to work. Invest it in something that produces. An asset, a business, a skill. Every dollar you reinvest becomes a little worker in your wealth factory. Remember, cash flow is the heartbeat of financial life. If it's irregular, everything else suffers. If it's strong, everything thrives. Wealth isn't about how much you make, it's about how well your money moves. So, manage the movement, control the current, and when your cash begins to flow with purpose, you'll no longer be chasing money. Money will start flowing toward you. That's when you stop surviving and start building wealth that lasts. There comes a point in every person's life when they must decide whether they'll keep trading their time for money or start building something that works even when they don't. Most people spend their entire lives renting out their hours, working harder and longer, yet never owning anything that continues paying them when they rest. That's the difference between the employee and the owner. Employees exchange time for wages. Owners exchange ideas for income. The key to real wealth is not to work harder, it's to think differently. When I was young, I was just like most people. I worked hard, showed up early, stayed late, and thought effort alone would make me rich. Then one day my mentor asked me a question that changed everything. Jim, if you stop working today, will your income stop too? I said, yes. He smiled and said, then you don't have an income, you have a job. The goal is to build an income that keeps flowing even when you stop. That's when I began to understand ownership. Ownership doesn't necessarily mean having a big business or millions in capital. It begins with a shift in mindset. It's about asking, what can I create that continues producing after the work is done? Maybe it's a small online venture, a piece of real estate, an investment portfolio, or even intellectual property, a book, a course, a system. The idea is to build something that gives you leverage. 1 hour of creation can pay you for years. Thinking like an owner means learning how money moves. Owners understand business, taxes, investments, and systems. They don't just earn, they direct. When you understand the flow of money, you start to see opportunities everywhere. You stop saying, I can't afford it, and start asking, how can I afford it? That small change in vocabulary turns limitation into creativity. Owners live in solutions, not excuses. But ownership isn't just financial, it's mental. It means taking responsibility. The owner doesn't blame the economy, the boss, or the government. He says, if it's to be, it's up to me. That's power. That's control. Once you accept full ownership of your outcomes, you've already crossed the bridge from employee thinking to owner thinking. You can start small. When I began, I didn't own a company. I owned a corner of my time. I used it to learn, to study, to sell a product, to build a relationship that turned into an opportunity. One idea became another, and before long, my income no longer depended on my hours. That's when freedom began. You don't need to quit your job to think like an owner. You just need to start owning your decisions, your skills, and your direction. So my advice is simple. Start something that belongs to you. It could be a small business, an investment, or a new skill that leads to independence. Learn how owners think, how they move money, how they create value from ideas. The goal isn't to work for someone else's dream forever. It's to build a system that eventually works for yours. Once you learn to think like an owner, you'll never see money or your time the same way again. Money has a personality of its own. It's obedient, but only to discipline. It doesn't stay where it's confused, neglected, or mistreated. It quietly leaves the hands of those who act on impulse and flows toward those who manage it with order, clarity, and purpose. The truth is, money doesn't respond to emotion. It responds to management. You can love money, hate money, worry about money, but until you learn to manage it, you'll always chase it instead of directing it. I've met people who earn $10,000 a month and end up broke, and others who earn $2,000 and live in peace. What's the difference? Management. One reacts, the other plans. When I was younger, I used to think that if I could just earn a little more, my problems would disappear. But the truth hit me hard. If you can't manage $1, you can't manage 10,000. It's not about the amount, it's about the order. I remember a season in my life when money seemed to vanish as quickly as it came. Every payday felt like a rescue mission, but within days, the relief was gone. I blamed taxes, bills, bad luck, anything but my own habits. Then one day I sat down and wrote out every dollar that came in and every dollar that went out. What I found shocked me. Small, careless decisions were costing me freedom. The moment I began managing with precision, my income didn't just grow, my confidence did. Because when you know where your money goes, you begin to tell it where to go. Management is a form of respect. Separate your accounts. One for earning, one for investing, one for spending. Label your money before it gets a chance to wander. Review your finances weekly, not monthly, not yearly, weekly. You don't wait until your car breaks down to check the oil. Don't wait until your bank account is empty to check your flow. Small, consistent attention prevents big, expensive surprises. And above all, remove emotion from your decisions. Most financial mistakes come from feelings, not logic, fear, impulse, comparison. Don't buy because you're bored. Don't sell because you're scared. Don't spend because someone else did. Money obeys logic. It thrives under order. When your plan is clear, your emotions settle, and when emotions settle, wisdom takes over. I learned that money isn't loyal to anyone, it's loyal to structure. It leaves chaos and follows clarity. So ask yourself, do you have a plan for every dollar? Do you know where it's going, what it's earning, and when it's returning? If not, your money is managing you instead of the other way around. So, treat money like a business partner, not a mystery, not a pet, but a disciplined relationship built on respect and understanding. Because once you show money that you can manage it wisely, it starts to trust you with more. And when that happens, freedom isn't far behind. You don't get paid for the time you spend, you get paid for the value you bring to that time. The marketplace doesn't reward effort, it rewards effectiveness. You can swing a hammer all day, but if you're hitting the wrong nail, it doesn't matter how hard you work. The secret of wealth is not in the hours you put in, but in the value those hours produce. Some people work 8 hours and earn a little. Others work the same 8 hours and earn a fortune, not because of luck, but because of leverage, skill, and the ability to solve bigger problems. When I was starting out, I worked hard, maybe harder than most, but my results were modest. Then one day a mentor asked me a question that changed everything. Are you working to get paid, or are you working to get valuable? That hit me. I realized I had been trading time for money, but the truly wealthy were trading value for wealth. It wasn't about working more hours, it was about making my hours worth more. The moment I began focusing on becoming valuable, learning, communication, leadership, persuasion, and business, my income followed. The marketplace is fair in one way. It pays for value. If you want more, you must become more. That's not punishment, that's the law of exchange. If you bring solutions that others can't, you'll earn rewards others won't. A doctor earns more not because of the hours they work, but because of the problems they solve. The same goes for an investor, an entrepreneur, or a craftsman. The goal isn't to escape work, it's to elevate your contribution. So, identify one skill that can multiply your earning power. Maybe it's mastering a craft, learning to sell, or understanding how to manage people or capital. Once you find it, study it daily. Read, listen, observe, and more importantly, apply. Watch those who've achieved excellence in your field and model their efficiency. Don't copy their lifestyle, copy their principles. Wealthy people think differently about effort. They ask, how can I serve more people more effectively in less time? And that's the key, service. Wealth always follows value, and value always begins with service. The more people you help, the more wealth finds its way back to you. The janitor who cleans one building serves one client. The entrepreneur who builds a cleaning company serves hundreds. The difference isn't effort, it's leverage. You can't multiply time, but you can multiply impact. Remember, there's no virtue in exhaustion. Don't glorify hard work, glorify smart work. Because effort alone can make you tired, but only value can make you rich. Every day, ask yourself, how can I make my work matter more? Refine your skills until people say, we need what you do. That's when wealth starts chasing you instead of you chasing it. In the end, money is a mirror. It reflects the value you deliver to others. So raise your value, and life will raise your income. That's not theory. That's how the marketplace rewards excellence. There's a point in your journey where you must ask yourself a question that separates the wealthy from the merely busy. If I stopped working today, would the money stop too? That question has haunted many hard workers, people who gave their best years to labor but never built something that lasted beyond their effort. True wealth is not about what you earn while you're active. It's about what continues when you're not. The greatest reward of wealth isn't comfort, it's continuity. You see, there's a difference between making a living and creating a life. Making a living depends on your activity. Creating a life depends on your systems. The rich understand this distinction deeply. They know that the real goal isn't to keep working harder, it's to make money work harder than they do. They build systems that pay them in their sleep, businesses that operate without their constant presence, and assets that grow while they're with family, resting, or even gone. I learned this lesson the hard way. Early in my career, I worked tirelessly. Early mornings, late nights, believing effort alone would secure my future. And while it brought temporary success, it didn't bring freedom. I was still tied to the clock. Then a mentor told me, you're only wealthy when your money earns while you rest. That was a revelation. I realized I had to shift from income that required me to income that replaced me. So, I began to build things that could outlive my labor, investments, intellectual property, and systems that multiplied my time. If you're serious about wealth, you must do the same. Develop assets that send you checks, not bills, every month. Maybe it's real estate that brings rent, or a business that pays dividends. Maybe it's an online product, a book, a course, an idea that continues to serve others long after you've created it. The goal is to transition from effort-based income to asset-based income. That's the true path to freedom. And here's the key. Don't chase prestige, chase persistence. Prestige fades when the applause stops, but passive income keeps whispering every month, "You did it right." Build something that doesn't need your daily presence to thrive. That might mean delayed gratification now, saying no to status, yes to structure. It might mean less glamour today, but greater peace tomorrow. Wealth that outlives you is more than financial, it's philosophical. It means you've built something that continues to serve others, employ others, or inspire others, even when you're gone. It's legacy wealth, income that not only supports your life, but shapes lives beyond yours. When your ideas, your systems, and your principles keep producing results after you've moved on, you've achieved something far greater than riches. You've achieved significance. So, begin today. Build one stream of income that doesn't need your presence to flow. It could be small, a rental property, a dividend stock, a simple digital product, but let it be yours. Protect it, nurture it, expand it. Because one day, the goal isn't to work for money, but to have money and meaning working for you. That's the day you stop surviving and start living free. There's a timeless principle that separates those who stay wealthy from those who only get wealthy once. The law of reinvestment. Every dollar you earn holds a decision: consume it now or grow it later. The average person spends the harvest. The wealthy replant the seeds. See, money is like a tree. If you eat the fruit too early, you'll never know the size of the forest it could have become. But if you replant, if you let your money multiply, one small tree can grow into an orchard that feeds you for life. I remember when I first started earning more than I ever had before. It was tempting. I wanted the better car, the bigger house, the nicer suit. But a wise man told me, if you want to look rich now, you'll stay broke later. If you want to be rich later, you'll look modest now. That advice changed everything. I realized that the goal wasn't to spend the first profits, but to protect and replant them. So instead of indulging, I reinvested into my business, into learning, into assets that would earn again and again. And sure enough, every seed I sowed began to produce more fruit than the one before. The poor and middle class often treat profit as a finish line. The wealthy treat it as a starting point. When they receive returns, they don't ask, "What can I buy?" They ask, "Where can I plant this next?" Reinvestment is the bridge between temporary success and lasting abundance. It's not about greed, it's about stewardship. It's about letting your money continue to serve you, not through consumption, but through creation. One of the biggest traps people fall into is rewarding themselves too soon. You make a little profit, and suddenly the car gets an upgrade, the wardrobe expands, the weekends get more expensive. And just like that, what could have been capital for the next opportunity becomes clutter in your closet. The wealthy delay gratification, not because they don't enjoy life, but because they understand sequence. First, you build the system that pays for the luxury. Then you enjoy it guilt-free. So here's the rule I followed. Every time I made money, I reinvested at least half. Half went back into growth, into marketing, training, assets, or expansion, and the other half covered operations or savings. Only when my assets produced enough to pay for luxuries did I allow myself to enjoy them. That discipline created a snowball effect. My money didn't just grow, it multiplied. Reinvestment also sharpens your mind. It forces you to think strategically, to evaluate opportunities, measure returns, and understand risk. When your money is working for you, you start thinking like an investor, not a spender. You begin to see the world differently, not in terms of prices, but in terms of potential. So don't spend your early profits. Plant them. Let your first returns be the soil for your next success. Resist the temptation to look successful. Instead, become successful by building foundations that sustain. Because here's the truth. The money you reinvest today will one day buy you time, freedom, and peace tomorrow. And that's the greatest luxury of all. The great secret of wealth is that it doesn't arrive in a single moment of brilliance. It unfolds through thousands of quiet, consistent days. The challenge is, most people overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can achieve in a decade. They want instant results, quick profits, and overnight success, forgetting that the roots of every oak tree grew unseen for years before breaking through the soil. Wealth is a marathon of patience disguised as daily habits, and those who master the art of small, steady action become unstoppable over time. You see, the rich think in decades while others think in days. When they set a goal, they don't just ask, "What can I make this month?" They ask, "What foundation am I building that will still serve me 10 years from now?" That mindset changes everything. It slows you down just enough to think clearly, but speeds you up in ways that matter most. Because once your direction is right, persistence becomes your greatest advantage. When I first started on my path to wealth, I had more ambition than structure. I wanted it all, fast. But life doesn't reward impatience. It rewards consistency. So I began setting long-term goals, 5-year, 10-year, even 20-year targets. Then I broke them into smaller, actionable steps. What can I do this month that serves the next 5 years? What can I do today that honors that vision? It's amazing how manageable the impossible becomes when you turn it into daily work. That's how wealth is built, quietly, incrementally, persistently. Every small deposit, every smart decision, every book you read, every skill you sharpen, every opportunity you nurture, they compound like interest. The beauty of compounding is that it starts invisible. The first few years may seem slow, frustrating even, but that's the test, to stay faithful to your process when there's no applause, no recognition, no visible reward. Because in the beginning, progress hides behind patience. The problem with most people is they're trapped in cycles of short-term thinking. They spend their energy on what feels urgent instead of what builds lasting results. They switch strategies, chase trends, or quit too soon. But the wealthy, they play the long game. They plant seeds and wait, knowing that consistency always wins over intensity. The practical key is simple. Think big, act small, and review often. Write down your 5- and 10-year wealth goals. Break them into monthly plans so your vision translates into motion. Review quarterly. Adjust where needed, but never quit. The path may twist, but the direction remains the same. I've seen countless people rise, not because they were the smartest or luckiest, but because they refused to stop showing up. Their daily actions built invisible momentum, and over time, that momentum built empires. So remember, the future is just a collection of todays, well managed. Dream big, but honor your dreams through small, consistent steps. If you do the right things daily, the years will take care of themselves. Wealth isn't created in the rush of activity. It's built in the rhythm of disciplined days, one routine at a time. There's a beautiful paradox about money. The more tightly you cling to it, the faster it slips through your fingers. And the more freely you let it flow, with purpose, with generosity, with gratitude, the more it seems to find its way back to you. You see, money is energy, and energy needs circulation. Just as stagnant water begins to rot, stagnant wealth begins to decay in spirit, in joy, and eventually in opportunity. The act of giving keeps abundance alive. It keeps the soul of wealth breathing. I learned early that money is not meant to stop with you. It's meant to flow through you. The wealthy understand this truth deeply. They give, not because they have excess, but because they understand. Circulation creates expansion. When you give to something greater than yourself, you tell the universe, I have enough, and that declaration of sufficiency attracts more. But here's the key. Giving isn't about random charity. It's about conscious generosity. It's about supporting what aligns with your values, what multiplies goodness in the world. When I first started earning, I didn't have much to give, but I made it a rule. Even when I had $10, $1 was not mine. That small habit changed everything. It taught me discipline, gratitude, and perspective. Because when you can give from little, you're training your heart to handle abundance. Giving redefines your relationship with money. It transforms greed into gratitude and turns possession into purpose. Now, some people say, I'll give when I have more. But I've learned if you won't give when you have a little, you won't give when you have a lot. Giving isn't about quantity, it's about character. It's about trusting that generosity doesn't reduce your wealth, it expands it. Every time you give, you're planting a seed in the soil of goodwill, and those seeds have a mysterious way of returning, sometimes financially, sometimes in relationships, opportunities, or peace of mind. So here's what I suggest. Choose a portion, maybe 5%, maybe 10%, and commit to giving it away consistently. Not occasionally, not emotionally, but systematically. Make generosity part of your financial system, just like saving and investing. Support people, causes, and ideas that move the needle of humanity forward. Help a struggling student, back a mission, invest in education, or fund innovation. The return might not always show on a spreadsheet, but it will always show in your spirit, and that's where the true wealth resides. When you give, something incredible happens. You shift from scarcity to sufficiency, from consumer to contributor. You begin to see that wealth isn't measured by what you keep. It's measured by what you can afford to release. Giving disciplines the ego, strengthens your gratitude, and reminds you that you are already rich, rich enough to share. So remember, money grows when it moves with meaning. Don't hoard it, guide it. Don't worship it, use it. Give, not because you must, but because you can. That's the rhythm of real abundance and the beginning of true prosperity. Wealth isn't built by chasing money. It's built by becoming the kind of person money is attracted to. Discipline, vision, generosity, and growth, these are the foundations of freedom. Don't just work harder, work wiser. Let every dollar have a purpose. Let every day move you closer to independence. The real goal isn't riches, it's options, it's peace, it's time. So take what you've learned, apply it daily, and build a life that outlasts you. Make money your servant, not your master. And let your legacy be proof that wisdom always out-earns wages.